And welcome to the Tough Cover Podcast with your host, Mark Henry Jr. This is the second ever edition, live at 5 on the Painted Lines on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I want you guys to go follow at the Painted Lines on Twitter and subscribe to the Painted Lines on YouTube and Twitch. And last but not least, follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter. You see it in the display name there. Please go follow at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter and Instagram. So if you've been with us before, thanks for being a part of the Tough Cover Clique. And if you're new, thank you for joining us. Today I will be talking about my 4-pack of picks for tonight, and I'll be taking a look at Wednesday's opening lines, at least what is available already, and explaining the importance of finding early values in lines the night before or the morning of. Please leave your picks in the comments. I want to see if people have some winners. I want to go over some picks for some people and see if I can find some trends and some stats. Half and half. My friend from Party on Broad. I want to talk about that too. Before we get started, I just want to say stay tuned to TPL for later on at 8:30. I'll be on Party on Broad with Shane and with Deebs. And we'll be breaking down some Eagles mock drafts. I may even have a big announcement of a shift at the top of my draft board for the Birds from last week's Party on Broad. So again, check it out at 8:30 live right here on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Thanks for joining us, guys. If you got comments, like I said, leave them in the comments. Or if you have picks, leave them in the comments so we can eventually start keeping track of if you guys are giving out winners. Maybe we can eventually even do a picks contest, and we'll figure out something like that down the line. Before we get into the show, let's do a bit of a fit check. I'll need to come up with a better name for the segment, but as you can see, I'm rocking 4 for 4 Philly sports. Oh, get out of the way of the mic. Got the Sixers, the Eagles, Gritty, and the Philly Fanatic. So here we are, rocking Philly sports. I do have a nickname of Mark in Philly that I've gotten from calling in to a radio station, so I had to represent. Behind me, got the Carter Hart Flyers jersey on the wall, and I also have a Dominique Wilkins Hawks retro jersey for no other reason than I think it's a fire jersey. You got the retro Cavs and Bucks hats in the back, so we're going retro today. But without any further ado, let's dive in to my first day in the chair, which I went 4 and 4, and we'll talk about the results because the only indicator of the future is the past. And I think there's something to be learned by going over your bets after the fact, seeing where you went wrong, or if there was just any outliers, or if you were unlucky, or if you got lucky, if you won one. So yeah, let's talk about my action from last night. A bit of an inauspicious debut at 500. Could have gone better, could have gone worse, but we'll go in order. Luka Doncic over 2.5 threes for 1 unit, cashed in the first half, cashed in 15 minutes. Always great when you don't have to sweat one out. That was a solid winner, and it was nice to get one in the bag early. On the other side, first quarter under 57 and first half under 113.5 in Pacers Sixers. That zoomed way past because of guys named Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz. So I did not see that coming. I did not see all-time performances coming out of those guys, especially in the first half. So I definitely don't think I had the wrong thing in mind there. I was going with trends. So sometimes you gotta be willing to lose if you're a slave to the stats, like I am sometimes. Getting to one where this was just so those were both losses for 1 unit. A quick 1 and 2 start for me last night. The Bulls plus 5.5 last night. Lost by 6 to the Nuggets. They were down 4 with 1 second left, and the Bulls foul to send Jamal Murray to the foul line to hit 2 with basically expiring with 1 second on the board to lose by 6. That is a bad beat. It was on SVP's bad beats, I believe, last night. It was brutal to be a part of it, but I got lucky the other night with Charlotte Hornets. So can't get too upset with the losers. You can't get more upset with the losers than you do excited about the winners. You got to treat the wins and the losses the same. So it was definitely upsetting, though. I definitely have it out for for Billy Donovan right now. James Harden over 3.5 3-pointers made. He made 3. He actually only had 1 for most of the game. He hit 1 late in the fourth, and then he hit 1 in overtime. So, yeah, it wasn't a great bet, but he had done it in 8 of the 9 before. So I started out 1-4. It looked like, for a minute there, it could have been a dark start for the Tough Cover Pod on the Painted Lines, but hit 3 straight 2-unit plays, 2 units on the Cavs +2. They won by 11 outright against the Rockets. The Rockets have lost 12 straight, the longest in franchise history since 2001. So the longest one in 19 years. The longest losing streak so far of the year by a team in the NBA. So I'm going to keep riding against the Rockets no matter who they play. I mean, we rode with the Cavs last night, so I don't even know at this point who I wouldn't bet against the Rockets. And then in my 2 biggest plays of the night, Oklahoma State takes care of business 79-75 against Oklahoma in Bedlam. Took care of business for 2 units. And then my lock of the night, my play of the day, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma over 141.5, hits by 13.5 points. And in the first half, there was about 100 points. So that was an absolutely a winner the whole way. Always great when you take an over and it's 16-10, 3 minutes into the game. So that over was absolutely rock solid. 4-4 on the day, finished up a unit. So we're going to try to take that unit and move on to the next day here. So let's get ready to gamble. Got a 4-pack of picks, like I said earlier. So I'll start with probably the one that I have the least to say about. At 7 o'clock, I have Xavier money line at Georgetown for 2 units. This is the pick I really have the least prepared for. More of a field bet than the other 3. The other 3 are based more on trends. I think Xavier has a massive coaching advantage that can't be understated here with Travis Steele over Patrick Ewing. I do not think Patrick Ewing is a very good college basketball coach. Georgetown has won 2 in a row, 1 time this year, which isn't surprising at 8-13, but it's just evidence that they have not been able to put wins together whatsoever. This game means so much more to Xavier than it does to Georgetown. Xavier still has tourney dreams. They're hoping to go dancing. Xavier is pretty much better statistically in almost every metric or almost every measure of college basketball teams. Way better in KenPom, which is one that I like to use, and a very famous one, obviously. And just about Xavier, if they can handle business against Marquette and Georgetown, they actually should be looking pretty good in the bubble after a couple tough losses. But they are 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 games, 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 road games. So, in my opinion, I love Xavier here, money line. The line has jumped to 2.5. I got it at a pick'em last night. Again, very important that you get lines wherever you think the best value is. So I have Xavier over Georgetown because Georgetown is relying way too much on the 3-pointer, and Xavier guards the 3 very well. They close out on shooters. I expect Xavier to control the interior due to Georgetown's inefficiencies on the inside, and for Xavier to take away Georgetown's best weapon, the 3-ball. Xavier money line, I got it at a pick'em. I bet it up to 2.5. Take Xavier. I got that for 2 units. Moving on to 8:30. Now you're in New York. I got the Knicks money line at San Antonio for 1.5 units. Concrete jungle, where dreams are made of. There's nothing Tibbs can't do. The Knicks are playing fantastic basketball. They've won 3 in a row and haven't lost since Bobby Shmurda got out of jail about a week ago. They've won 3 in a row and 7 of their last 9, 4 of their last 5. Knicks are 18-17, 20-15 against the spread. Julius Randle is playing the best basketball of his life. Tibbs is a shoo-in for Coach of the Year if they keep this rate up. The Knicks have been incredible this season defensively. Their opponents' effective field goal percentage, I've messed up my notes there, in the league is 50.4%, the lowest. The Knicks are also the 6th best rebounding team in the league compared to San Antonio, who basically has 2 bigs on roster. The Knicks starting lineup has been one of the best in the league at an 18.1 net rating. And you know Tibbs is playing historic starters a lot. It's historic in Chicago, Minnesota, New York. Tibbs relies on his guys and relies on his starters. Derek White, Rudy Gay, Devin Vassell, and Kelvin Johnson are all doubtful or questionable due to the health protocol for San Antonio. None played last game, and they gave San Antonio a scare and took it to overtime with a short rotation. On a back-to-back after an OT game, the Knicks almost feel too easy, which is a bit scary. But the Spurs are 1-3 on back-to-backs this year, and sometimes Pop just pulls the plug early to get guys rest. If he sees that he's down 20 in the third quarter and he knows they were in overtime the night before, he knows that a lot of guys are out anyway, he might just roll out the garbage time lineup. The Knicks opened as a 3.5-point dog here and have been bet up to a 2-point favorite. I got it at a pick'em, so I got it in the middle of the line movement. But the Sharps are all over the Knickerbockers. Only 40% of the bets are on the Knicks, but 80% of the money is on New York, which tells you that there is a big, big difference between the public and the sharp opinion of this game. There's big, sharp money and big, sharp bets pouring in on New York. Always feels better to be with the Sharps than to be with the public, and I'll ride it out. Let's go Knicks. Knicks money line. I'd bet it up to a 2-point favorite. Moving on to college basketball at 9 o'clock. I have Purdue money line versus Wisconsin for 2 units. Got this line very early at basically a pick'em. It's been anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 now that Purdue is favored by, so I got a favorable line here. This line makes no sense to me. I don't see how Wisconsin is going to handle Purdue's bigs. They really struggle to rebound, especially on the defensive end, and it has lost them games, especially one against Michigan. The Badgers have just one player logging more than 4.5 rebounds per game and have been out-rebounded in 5 of their past 6 games. Purdue ranks 25th in the country in rebound rate with 4 bigs averaging 4+ boards and with their star Williams averaging 9 boards a game. I just don't see how the Badgers are going to compete on the glass. I think they're going to be cleaning the glass in Indiana. Since the start of the 2014-2015 season, the Boilermakers have had the best cover rate among power conference teams in home games with a 60-35-4 against the spread record. Matt Painter, the coach of Purdue, is a far better and more successful coach than Greg Gard, the coach of Wisconsin, in my opinion. Wisconsin is 1-2 against the spread this year as a road dog, losing those games by an average of 7 points per game. Whiskey averages 62 points per game on the road, as opposed to Purdue averaging 73 points per game at home. The Badgers are making just under 40% of their three-point shots at home, which is excellent. But on the road, that percentage dips to 29.9%, which is one of the lowest in the Big Ten. And they are scoring 10.2 points per possession fewer on the road than they are at home. Wisconsin is a much worse team on the road, and Purdue is a much better team at home, is what those numbers tell you. Purdue is 6-1 against their spread in the last 7 games, playing their best basketball of the season at the best time of the season. The way to beat Purdue is to shoot the lights out from 3 and just outscore and outrun the Boilermakers, because Purdue doesn't shoot a ton that efficiently. But Wisconsin is not the team to take advantage of this, in my opinion. They're not Michigan. They're not Illinois. They're not even Ohio State or any of those teams that can really take advantage of Purdue's inefficiencies. I think Purdue is a better rebounding team that is scoring better and are playing better defense. And they are the hotter team right now, not to mention their history as a home favorite and Whiskey's history as a road dog. I love Purdue to win tonight and would take it up to 2.5 points. But I love, love, love that I got Purdue money line last night at a pick'em. The key to this game, as it is with all Purdue games, as I always say, is Sasha, the legit boss, Stefanovic. I'm a big fan of his because he's great in the clutch for Purdue, and he's a great shooter from deep in the line, and he's so important to their team. You look at his stats, and they're very underwhelming. At a little over 10 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds, but he's shooting 48% from 3 and 83% from the line. But those counting stats are a bit misleading. He was out for a little less than a month due to COVID, and Purdue really struggled without him. And then in his first 3 or 4 games back, he was a train wreck. He had admitted basically that he didn't feel right. And Purdue struggled in those games in a loss against Minnesota and even in some close wins against terrible teams they shouldn't be playing close, like Northwestern and Nebraska. But if you look at his stats without that bad COVID stretch, they're much more impressive, and the percentages are off the chart. It's like close to 60% from 3. Also, if you look at some of their big wins, Purdue, against Penn State, Ohio State both times, which is impressive that they've beaten Ohio State twice, against Indiana, against Notre Dame. Sasha Stefanovic is always coming through, especially in the clutch, which is just like Sasha Banks on WWE pay-per-view, which is why I call him Sasha, the legit boss, Stefanovic, he's playing his best basketball of the year. And Brad Davison on Wisconsin is playing his worst basketball of the year, shooting 22% at the rim, by far the worst in the Big Ten, which is part of why the Boilermakers should control the interior against a Wisconsin team that rates 292nd in the country in 2-point field goal shooting percentage. They've really been relying on the three too much, which is a theme of things that I'm betting against tonight. So for all those reasons, I love the Purdue Boilermakers tonight, as I seem to love them every time they play. But like I said, they're 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 games. They've been good to me. So now we move to the lock of the night, the play of the day, the tough cover special at 10 o'clock on national TV. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is going to be a shocker to many who know me, but I'm going with the Phoenix Suns +2 at the Los Angeles Lakers for 2 units. I'm a LeBron stan. I think he's the GOAT. I generally do not bet against LeBron under any circumstances, but circumstances. I've bet against LeBron 3 times in my life over the last 4 years. I bet on the Sixers to beat the Lakers this year, and I bet on the Sixers to beat the Lakers last year. And I won both. And randomly, last year I bet on Toronto early in the season and won. So technically, I'm 3-0 all time betting against LeBron James. So maybe I shouldn't be nervous, but it says something that I've bet against him 3 times out of possible hundreds of times that I could have bet on or against LeBron James. Now let's get to actual basketball reasons here. Phoenix went 12-3 in February and had the second best net rating. If the Jazz weren't red hot and in first in net rating, the Suns would be a way bigger story. People would not get enough of talking about Devin Booker and Chris Paul and Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton. But because the Jazz have been so red hot, I think it's taken a little bit of the shine away from the Suns. The Suns ranked 29th in pace in February, but it didn't hurt them due to their just absolutely epic efficiency. The Lakers seem to be a slow starting team, having the most comeback wins in the league. If the Suns get up early, they will muck this game up and play to a slower pace, which the Lakers also play to, being bottom 5 in pace. The Suns are a better team, in my opinion, than the Lakers are without Anthony Davis. I know the Lakers just had 2 comfortable wins against Portland and Golden State to take their record without Anthony Davis from 1-4 to 3-4, but obviously they were struggling big time before those 2 wins. I don't think those 2 wins were an elixir or an absolute fix-all of everything. The offensive rating is 25th for the Lakers since AD went out, even though their defense has improved, which probably more than anything has more to do with pace, with defensive specialist guys like Marc Gasol, who aren't running the floor like AD, playing more minutes, and probably even playing just as good defense. And I just like Phoenix to get up early and hold on to the lead. They've been a great first quarter and first half team, while the Lakers have been bad in the first and a great second half team. The Suns are 18-4 against the spread in their last 22 first quarters, while the Lakers are 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 first quarters at home. So first quarter and first half Suns is very interesting, as well as first quarter and first half Knicks. They've been on a hell of a run. The Knicks and the Suns have been the 2 best first quarter and first half teams in the NBA, which makes sense because they have 2 of the best starting lineups. As I mentioned earlier with the Knicks, the Suns are right behind the Knicks in terms of efficient starting lineups, which has helped them a lot in the first quarter and, of course, in the first half overall. So that does it with my 4 picks of the night. Let me run them down real quick to get them across if anyone joined in late. I have Xavier Pick'em for 2 units at Georgetown. That line is up to 2.5 points. I would bet it up to 2.5 points, but I'm glad I got it at a Pick'em. The New York Knicks money line Pick'em at San Antonio. I got it at a Pick'em, but it's now up to -1.5. Of course, I would lay the 1.5 points. That's for 1.5 units. Purdue for 2 units over Wisconsin money line. That's moved up to -2. I would also bet that -2. And then Phoenix +2. It stays at +2. It's settling there. I like Phoenix at +2 at the Lakers. And then slight leans here that first quarter, first half Suns, first quarter, first half Knicks, and the Fly Guys -120 against the Penguins. I didn't take it because I wasn't quite confident enough. If it was 100 or minus 110, maybe I would have taken it. But I know Sidney Crosby's not playing, so I thought that line would jump up a little bit more. It's kind of fishy to me that it didn't, but I'm also not as much of a hockey prognosticator as I am in hoops, so I can't all the time decipher line movement in hockey, but I did think it would go up more without Sidney Crosby. So let's break into the lines tomorrow a little bit in college basketball, especially. I think I really like the slate in college basketball tomorrow. And before we get to the slate tomorrow for college basketball, I just want to say the reason it's so important to look at these lines the night before is because there are more than often you are able to tell where the public is going to bet. Most of the time, you know who the public teams are. A lot of these blue blood teams with Duke and Kentucky and Michigan State and even Indiana, a lot of these schools like that, Louisville, it seems like they get a lot of that public money that's pouring in the day of the game or even the night of the game, and the line moves all the way towards there. If it's a situation where you want to bet against a team like that, that's something you want to hold off on. You want to wait and you want to let that play out. But if you think that the opening line for a team that's public or a team that is playing against a team with injuries, if you think that it's a little bit soft, you want to pounce on that right away. I promise you, if you take a team money line as a pick'em, for example, like I did with a couple teams last night, and it moves to +2, +3, you're not going to, unless literally they lose by 2 or they lose by 1, which is such a small percentage, unless that happens, you're not going to regret taking money line. But you are going to regret it if you like the money line at a pick'em and then you wait and you wait and you wait and then you have to take it at -3 or -2.5. I just think that the upside of taking a line early greatly outweighs the downside of taking a line early. So that's just my personal opinion. I think that I do a pretty good job identifying value the night before or even the day before to try to get an early jump on where the public money and where the sharp money is going to pour in. So that was just my little spiel about closing line value and about opening line value. I just wanted to get that out there and put that out there for in perpetuity so people can check that out. Creighton at Villanova is a big game tomorrow night. Villanova is a 4-point favorite. They got absolutely waxed by Creighton earlier this year. So I understand that Nova's been really good against teams that they lost to. They bounced back really well historically. I won't be touching that game. Clemson at Syracuse. Syracuse opens as a 2-point favorite at home. Syracuse has been rock solid at home. I don't think that the disparity between Clemson and Syracuse is as big as people think it is. I think the general public would tell you that Clemson's a much better team than Syracuse, but I think that Clemson's offense certainly does not give you a lot of confidence in certain games. So I like Syracuse a lot in that spot, maybe as a money line parlay or maybe even laying the 2.5 points. Wichita State at Tulane. Money's in the crumbs. So I like Wichita State. You don't want to go to war with the Shockers. Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. I love Wichita State this year. I love the Shockers. They just gave their head coach their interim head coach the official job because the team absolutely loves him and they're playing their asses off for him. So I love Wichita State. They opened at a 5-point favorite. It's down to 3.5. That is money line that I will be on. I may even lay the points. So I like Wichita a lot to beat Tulane in that game. Moving on, Missouri at Florida. I think this is a weird line. Missouri's a 4.5-point dog to Florida. I know Florida's been playing better, and I know Missouri's been playing worse, but that seems like a weird line. I'm going to stay away. If it was a pick'em, I would like Florida. But if that gets up to 6, 6.5, I might have to take Missouri, even though I don't think Missouri's very good. And I think their one player is so annoying to watch. But I think it's Drew Smith, something like that. Absolutely annoying to watch, but good player. I think 4.5 points is probably too many, but if it sticks at 4.5, I won't be playing that game. I'm only going to be going through the marquee games here, but UConn at Seton Hall, both bubble teams. I love UConn +1. They're a different team with Book Night. They opened at +1. I think that that's going to go up to about -2, -3, I expect. With UConn, they're a team that plays such close games that you really do want to pounce on that value early, in my opinion. So tonight, when that line is published on FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever your choice of betting sponsor is, I would pounce on that right away on UConn. I think UConn will win that game against Seton Hall. NC State at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 1-point favorite. I'm a little biased as a Notre Dame fan, not really for basketball, but for football. I think that a lot of people are going to look at that line and think that it's stupid and that NC State's been on a tear lately and that NC State is going to beat Notre Dame. But I think it's a correctly set line. I think Notre Dame's just as good of a team as NC State, if not better. I won't be touching it, but I think Notre Dame -1 is the correct line. If it was +3.5, +4.5, I would probably ride with the Fighting Irish. So let's keep looking. Minnesota at Penn State. Penn State's a 4.5-point favorite. Minnesota's terrible on the road. Penn State's been so up and down. It's hard to really take a side on either side of that game. You keep looking. Maryland at Northwestern. Maryland's a big bubble team. They're going to need that win. 4-point favorite is probably not too many. I think money line there could be interesting in a parlay booster. And then let's get to what looks like it's going to be my favorite play. UCLA at Oregon. UCLA is a 4-point dog to Oregon. I know Oregon has been playing better lately. I think this is a big letdown spot for Oregon because they're finally kind of in the tournament. I think it's a bigger game for UCLA, who's taking care of business as of late. But I like UCLA to cover and win there. So I'm curious to see the line movement on that. That's something I actually might wait on because I know a lot of people are very high on Oregon. So I'll probably be waiting it out on that line. And then the late night spread, Stanford at USC. USC is a 7.5-point favorite. Seems like way too many to me, but it also is a huge bounce back spot with USC coming home after a 2-game Mountain West road trip where they lost both and looked just abominable in both. I think 7.5 points is probably too many, but I do think USC is a safe bet to win that game. Now let's finish it up and talk about the NBA lines that are out for tomorrow. The Pacers are a 6-point favorite at the Cavs. I don't see any value there. I think that's a properly set line. Big bounce back spot for the Pacers, big letdown spot for the Cavs, so I'll be staying away. The Jazz and the Sixers, doesn't seem that there's a line set yet, so I won't be playing that game, obviously, until there's a line. But I think that's a lot because of Joel Embiid. They don't know if Joel's going to be playing, or that's kind of always the issue in getting Sixers lines early. So the Sixers are a team that I generally advise to wait it out on. The Atlanta Hawks at the Orlando Magic. The Atlanta Hawks are playing tonight and tomorrow. But like I said last time, you won't catch me betting on the Magic. It seems like the Magic are in these great spots to be bet on lately, but they're the Magic. So I won't be betting on the Magic. I think the Hawks are the better team, but the Hawks are probably not a 4-point better team on a back-to-back on the road. So that's a tough line for me. And then you get to a team that screwed me last night, but I'm going to go back to the well. The Chicago Bulls at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Bulls are a 5-point dog. I will be betting on the Bulls +5. So I will absolutely be on that game. I'll probably even be sprinkling money line on the Chi-Town Bulls over the New Orleans Pelicans. Then the last game of the line that has a line, the last game of the night that has a line, Golden State at the Portland Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers are +1. I think they should be favored by about 2 or 3. I'm curious to see where that line movement is on the injury news coming out of Golden State. So we'll see who's questionable. There's no injury report quite yet on that, but Golden State has been missing dudes lately. I think Portland +1, even if everyone's healthy for Golden State, is a solid value there. So thanks for listening, everybody. Check me out at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter. Follow at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter. Follow at The Painted Lines on Twitter. Subscribe to The Painted Lines on YouTube and Twitch. And enjoy the winners.